Hi, and thank you for joining us here at Tax Talk UK, where we talk about all things tax and consider other important aspects involved with working for yourself, being self-employed, running a small business. Today, I'm going to talk about the changes to the timescales for making tax digital. Before we talk about that, if I could please ask you to take a moment to subscribe to our YouTube channel. That way you'll easily be able to refer back to this information if you need to, as well as being able to find other important information that we have available on our channel, all catalogued in our playlist and all aimed at supporting you in your self-employment. So back then to making tax digital. So we've talked in depth before about what making tax digital is, and you'll be aware that effectively it is keeping your records digitally, i.e. using software and using that software to submit various returns and reports to HMRC. So anybody who is running a business that is VAT registered, regardless of their trading style or whether they're compulsory or voluntarily VAT registered, by this time is already mandated to comply with the rules of MTD. So that means that if you are a VAT registered business, you are obliged to keep your records digitally already. And the next tax that was to come along on the MTD timescale was to be MTD for ITSA. So that is income tax self-assessment, and this was the next planned phasing in of MTD and bringing a whole new set of taxpayers into the scope of MTD and having to comply with the rules that it brings. So as you may be aware, we were expecting from April 24 that anybody who is operating as a sole trader, self-employed sole trader, or as a private landlord, and either of those income streams taking a turnover and income over 10,000, we're going to be expected to comply with the MTD rules from April 2024. Already in 2021, that was pushed back from the initial April 23. So of course, when we get to the end of this current tax year, the 22-23 tax year, that gives just a year left until those next changes come in. Now, there has been a lot of concern about the volume of taxpayers that are going to be required to make the change, and how many all at once, and the challenges that will present to software providers, to professionals providing support to those taxpayers, and of course, most importantly, those very taxpayers themselves. So in recognition of these challenges, HMRC have now announced that the timescales will be changing, as well as the thresholds. So it still will be the case that the changes will be applied to self-employed trading as a sole trader, and also to private landlords. Now, it is the turnover thresholds that have also changed. So if you are either of those, so either a sole trader or a private landlord, income from either of those sources, and your income is over £50,000 a year. So of course, when I say income turnover, I'm talking about the money that you actually receive before you make any sort of adjustments for expenses or anything like that. The actual sales or the rental income is what I'm talking about. So that if that is over £50,000 a year, then you will be required to comply with MTD from April 2026. Now, if your income is between 30 and 50,000, then you will have a further year, and you will need to comply with Making Tax Digital from April 2027. So this hopefully will reduce people that we're going to fall within the scope of the MTD rules, and make it more manageable for the changes to be brought in, and to give more time for that to happen. So that, of course, seems like a long way off. But as we will know from when initially MTD for ITSA was going to start from April 23, and we knew about that a few years in advance, and that time just went very, very quickly. So it's good that we have got the extra time, but I would say still keep considering how MTD will impact you. Particularly if you're starting a new business, which you expect to grow and potentially be VAT registered, then it makes sense to use the software from the start, and then you'll have time to get used to that, to be using it to the most advantage of your business, to really give you the financial management tools to be able to effectively manage your business financially. And then once you are compelled to comply with Making Tax Digital, and you are compelled to need to keep your records within software, it won't really affect you, because you'll already be doing it, you'll already be up and running, and it will only be the minor changes then of actually submitting the returns via the software. So for a lot of people, there will be other advantages to Making Tax Digital. Once that you're up and running and you're using your software, you will find it will help you to keep track of your profit and loss throughout the year, give you an idea of your tax liability in advance of the end of the year. That of course allows you to make provision for your tax liability. It will enable you to make sure your accounts are more accurate, and keep on top of them throughout the year. So of course, trying to do a whole year's worth of accounts, perhaps in a rush if it's left until the deadline, can of course lead to inaccuracies, either carelessness because you're rushing and you don't have the time to do it properly, or simply because something happened early in the accounting period and you've forgotten about it, and that could potentially lead to not claiming for expenses that you are entitled to. So it's great that we do have the extra time. It's great that there will be now a more phased approach to those who will be mandatory needing to comply with the new rules. But as I say, don't just put it out of your mind. Still be conscious that it's something that's going to be on the horizon for you. And of course, the earlier that you start to use the software, if you're not using it already, the more time that you have to get used to it. So it could be that by having a few years to do this, it could be that in the first year you only do part of your accounts digitally, if you feel that doing the whole lot is too overwhelming, and then build more function into that, and then you've got more time to get used to it, and just ensure that by the time that you have to be doing it, that you are all completely okay with everything that you're doing, and this will ensure the most accurate accounts. And as I mentioned before, it will give you information throughout the accounting period to help you to keep track of your finances. So there will be benefits for lots of people of doing this. So just to recap then, so the initial planned mandatory compulsion to have to comply with Making Tax Digital was expected to be from April 24 for sole traders or landlords with private landlords with a income over 10,000. So now if you have income from either of those sources, as a sole trader or as a private landlord, and your income is over £50,000, then you will need to be complying with Making Tax Digital now from April 2026. If your income or your turnover is over 30,000 but less than 50,000, then you will be mandated to comply with the MTD rules from April 2027, and we're still going to be awaiting a date of when we're expecting it to apply to partnerships and also for micro-entity companies and corporation tax. So we don't have any there's nothing on the actually planned on the horizon yet. And as I mentioned right at the start, if you are VAT registered, for whether it's because you are over the threshold or whether you've voluntarily registered for VAT, you will already need to be complying with Making Tax Digital. And of course, if you are a sole trader, for example, and you go over the VAT threshold, then that is the time that you will be mandated to use Making Tax Digital. It will bring it forward because VAT is a tax where it's already compulsory to submit your records digitally to HMRC. So more changes, but it gives more time for you to prepare and to really get your head around what you need to be doing. So hopefully this has been helpful. If you have found the information helpful, please do take a moment to like the video. That does help us to know which questions that you ask that we should focus our efforts on answering. The ones it helps us to understand what you find most useful or most interesting. So thank you very much for watching, and please do take the time to subscribe to the channel. Thank you.